Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Decided to do a bit of a deck tech because I recently decided to switch from RG Eldrazi back to a modified version of Eldrazi Tron. I think it's a little better positioned right now, and I just like some variety. So I wanted to do a bit of a deck tech. This deck has been heavily inspired by some of the writing of Todd Stevens on the bold new look of Eldrazi Tron. The biggest difference, I would say, is that we are going with an entirely chalice-less list. But here we go. Let's go for a quick breakdown. Notice we got like a nice mana kind of curve going on here, which is great to see with the deck. So our mana base is pretty straightforward. We got a couple of Cavern of Souls. We have a couple of Wastes for Field of Ruins and to fetch ourselves with Ghost Quarters. The 4 Temples. 3 Ghost Quarters for dealing with various land things. The Seagate Wreckage, because it's a boss, helps do some late end card draw. And then the standard package of 12 Eldrazi lands. When we get into the creature base, it is very similar to what you've seen before. 4 Walking Baristas for serving up single points of damage. We have Matter Replacers, because we love them. Thought Knot. Thought Seizes on a stick, and then we like to smash people's realities, so we have 4 of those as well. We have a pair of Endbringers in for card draw later and for various Endbringer shenanigans. A Wormcoil Engine, just a singleton for some life gain, some artifact. Big Daddy Karn, there's only one Big Daddy Karn in this deck, and that's to make room for 2 little baby Karns, which you'll see over on the far right hand side. Love the little baby Karn. One of the biggest weaknesses I found with Eldrazi Tron was the lack of card advantage, and he fixes that in spades, as well as gives us an avenue for creating some chump blockers or some really actually scary artifact critters at a late game. We now have room for a couple of Basilisk Collars because we're not running the Chalices, and they're great. They've helped shore up a whole bunch of matchups, and they're great for Walking Ballista and Endbringer shenanigans, for blowing things up. A couple of Spatial Contortions for dealing with critters. It's basically our Lightning Bolts. 4 Exploration Maps for fetching. A pair of Mind Stones, which are okay. I might end up replacing eventually. And a pair of Dismembers for removal, and some All Is Dust as a sweeper. Now, when I look at my sideboard, I've got a pair of Gut Shots. They've been really solid for me for dealing with all sorts of little tiny critters, for blowing up creatures in affinity, and removal of elves and dorks and the like. Pithing Needles are always solid. The benefit to having no Chalices, we can run a whole bunch of 1-drops. I was never really a great player with Chalice. I always felt that I was playing around it, and it just really felt awkward for me, and this deck feels much better. I have some Relic of Progenitus and some single Grafdigger's Cage for graveyard stuff, a pair of Ratchet Bombs for removal, 2 Warping Whales. This Trinosphere down here should actually be a second Torpor Orb for dealing with the Human Menace. And then 1 Sovereign Flagship for a flying critter, because we don't have any of those in the deck. And it is also like a Lightning Bolt if we need it. So anyway, that is the deck. I have played, as I said, 11 games with it, and I've won 10 of them. I've only lost to one sort of black-blue artifact shenanigan deck. But I've beaten Boggles a couple times. I've beaten Affinity a couple of times. It's feeling very solid right now. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the deck tech.